Greetings everyone, I'm Ricky Ricardo Levon, and Prelude to Restoring Part 1 is a slice of a 4-part series as an introduction to the book, Restoring the Fallen. The idea was to build a foundation going into the study on the book of Hosea. Now God called the prophet to articulate his message for the chosen people to change their ways. Each Prelude lesson has several questions, but we will only cover 3 points in this video. The lesson is available to review and complete on your own or as a group at labari.com/restoring/prelude to restoring and at the link in the description below. Point number 1 comes from question 2, and it says, who came to Samuel and demanded a change in the ruling system, and what was their reasoning and example? 1 Samuel chapter 8 verses 4 through 5. During Samuel's time, God ruled Israel as their king. This was a theocracy. There were judges, prophets, and priests who all had their part in dispatching God's commands, laws, ideals, and justice to the people. Samuel, like Eli before him and his sons after, was a judge who was active in this role for God to the people. However, his sons, unlike him, were not up to the task of being the proper judges. So, the various leaders within Israel demanded a king to be more like those around them compared to the system they were accustomed. And therein lies the issue. It was not so much that the people wanted change. Clearly, Samuel's children were not following in the ways of their dad, so it was a problem. Often in our lives we go through issues where something is not right or leadership is not following in the ways that they should. The problem was not in asking for new leadership, such as another judge, but in changing the system altogether. After all, they were in a theocracy and the people wanted to be under a monarchy, like the countries and nations around them. Beware of wanting to be like other people who does not follow the path that God desires for you. We might look at other people and thrive and desire to be like them, even though it might not be God's plan for our lives. Point number 2 comes from question 4, and it says, what was God's response to the people's behavior? 1 Samuel chapter 8 verses 6 through 9. Samuel knew that the people's request was sinful and went against the Lord's blueprint. However, God had a simple response that was in verse 7 and 8. But the Lord told him, listen to the people and everything they say to you. They have not rejected you, they have rejected me as their king. They are doing the same thing to you that they have done to me since the day I brought them out of Egypt until this day, abandoning me and worshiping other gods. The Lord actually listened to the people, but it hurt him. He knew that it was due to his hands, the reason for them to be free in the first place, but now they reject him for a false ideal and plan of leadership. What has the Lord done for us? Has he brought you or a group out of a desolate existence or issue or problem into a better state of being? Have we repaid God not with praise or honor, but hostility and demands of change that does not include him? The brief point from this is to beware of what we ask from the Lord and how it can affect our existence in ways never intended. God informed Samuel that their rejection was not towards the prophet but to God himself. A question to think about is, can our actions or desires clash with God so much that we reject his plan for our lives? What would the consequences of such actions be, not only for us but also to our family, friends, co-workers, church, and community? Point number 3 comes from question 5, and it says, what warning was given in regards to the human kings they desired? What was the community's response? 1 Samuel chapter 8 verses 10 through 22. When reading the verses from this chapter, there was a flood of problems that would plague the nation if they chose a human king. God was warning them of their decision and the terrible cost to ensue. Some of the issues would be the kings forcing the people to give up their children for their own personal use, taking their vineyards and orchards for the king's servants, even their animals and so much more taken to please the monarch in charge. When we go away from God's direction, there are consequences. If we allow the allure of society to stray away from God's structure, then penalties are assessed to those people. This decision ended up being hard for the Israelites during Samuel's period and became terrible for Hosea in his time hundreds of years later. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to pick up a copy of Restoring the Fallen to follow along as we traverse through the book at lavari.com/men's Bible study. This link is also in the description below. And for more information on Restoring the Fallen, please visit its official website at lavari.com/restoring. Thanks for your support and be blessed.